Hello and welcome. I am Doug, the human at the reins of Nerdy Excursions, and it is Fan Request Wednesday, which means that I am at the mercy of my followers on Twitter. If you would like to get in a suggestion right now, you can go to twitter.com/nerdyexcursions. I do have a poll open for about another 15 minutes and vote on what game I'm going to be playing tonight. The choices are Nightcall, Little Miss Fortune, Monaco, and SteamWorld Heist. All four downloaded and ready to go. It's just a matter of picking which one is going to be my game du jour tonight. So while that is still live, I will give it just another couple minutes, and we will see what is going to be happening. So, how is everyone doing tonight? Hopefully good. Hopefully well. Let's see. So right now, the winner of the poll is going to be Nightcall. So let me go ahead and get that game pulled up. Get it running. So, I have never played Nightcall before. It is something that I got through the Humble Choice monthly bundle, and it looked interesting and atmospheric, and looks like that's what we're going to be playing tonight. So, first things first, let's check out the options menu. Pretty bare bones. And for those of you watching the chat, Mountain Goth Mom, that's my wife, and Nightcall was her choice. So she is very excited to see me playing it. Alright. So, let's get into this. Let's see. Looks like we have a few different investigations to choose from. The judge. Victims have all something in common, and the motives seem clear. But which suspect could have done it? Balanced case, perfect for a first run. Then we have the Angel of Death. Random victims, unknown motive. Weird case, slightly more difficult than the others. And the Sandman. Victims may feel random at first, but there's a connection. Yet the motives might be hard to find, dark and twisted. Well, since this is a fresh playthrough, my vote is to go with the judge and see what happens. Let's see. Money will be easy to get by, investigation will be easier, every action will take less time for a chiller experience. The way Nightcall was designed, or hard mode. I'm down for a chill experience tonight. No shame in that. So, can you hear me? Or do I need to speak up? You're fine. She takes a deep breath. So, you just spent 2 weeks in a coma. The world bounces around your head. You need a moment to understand its meaning. Coma? The word scratches along your throat. Yes, you was the victim of an assault. The word resonates in your head. Victim. You are aware a serial killer is currently on the loose in Paris. You feel the contents of your stomach crawling up your throat. The judge, as the police call the killer, assaulted you. The bullet touched your liver, and in most circumstances, it would have been fatal. We chose to put you in an induced. Her voice becomes more distant, fades. You taste bile at the back of your mouth. Your head is burning. You hear a whistle in one ear. Your fingers move to your wound. Underneath the bandages, you can feel hard skin. It is incredibly painful. Did they... I'm sorry? Did they catch the judge? No. What about my passenger? He was dead before you even got out of your cab. The doctor is silent for a second. A very awkward second. She hesitates. The police would like to see you as soon as possible to ask you some questions. After all, You're the only one who's survived, the judge. Noise in the hallway attracts your attention. You try to turn your head, to no avail. You need to rest. She leaves the room. Her voice resonates in the hallway. I don't care he's the only witness. He's... Another female voice joins in, a strong, authoritarian voice. You can't clearly make up what she's saying. A strange feeling washes over you. It's not pain, not fatigue. Some odd combination of the two. Before being in this hospital room, you'd never realized that anger was made up of a combination of pain and exhaustion. Anger. Feeling you know all too well. Days go by, and a month later.
Well, look, I've got a bit of a problem. A real problem, that is.
You have a pounding headache. It's your first night behind the wheel since the attack.
Are you listening to me?
You catch your boss's eye in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
He stares at you for a second or two without speaking.
Sometimes I wonder what goes on inside your head. You always seem so far away.
I'm listening.
Okay.
He's watching you closely, trying to make out what's going on in your head.
You know I'm worried about you, don't you?
I know.
You're like a son to me, you know.
I know. And you know he's about to tell you the story of his taxi fleet. Again.
When my father died and left me the store, I could have sold it. I could have retired and gone back to the old country. But I decided to start a cab fleet with the money he left me and to hire the guys from the neighborhood. And that's why I've got 45 guys like you working for me.
His hands flutter in the air.
So, none of them are any match for you.
He smiles. His voice suddenly takes on a serious note.
Do you want me to go over everything again?
He points to the equipment on the dashboard, the meter, the GPS. You haven't been in a taxi for weeks. Maybe you do need a little refresher. Yeah, good idea.
Right then. Well, first, the map. You spot potential customers and try to guess where they'll be going. Then you decide. When a customer orders a taxi, if there's no one else around, you have to go pick them up.
He shrugs.
That's the way it goes. It's business. The other fares, you look at the map and decide whether or not you want to take them. And then, you drive.
He flashes a quick, mechanical smile. You know it well. When he talks about work, he talks about work. That's all.
When your shift is over, we do the numbers and...
His voice trails off as if searching for the right words.
And that's all. It's pretty simple. There's no reason why you can't do it. Oh, right. No overtime. We're in France here. And there are rules, regulations. You might not see it that way, but no one likes having a driver who hasn't slept for 24 hours.
He looks away. Something's been bothering him since he got into the cab.
Anyhow, you know the ropes. You get it. I know you're going to do a good job.
What's the matter? Your boss keeps quiet for a while, as if he's hesitant to speak, and then...
I don't think it's a good idea. You shouldn't be driving. The murderer is still out there, and we think he's going to come back. For you.
We?
Your colleagues. I do too. Anyway, I'll let you get back to work. Every minute spent in your taxi is a minute lost.
He gives you a smile, half ironic, half serious. Have a good evening. The sarcasm in his voice is palpable.
Right. You have a good evening, too.
He'll spend the rest of the night dealing with problems and drivers. You wonder how and when the guy ever gets any sleep. Your boss opens the door and exits the cab. You watch him cross the street and enter the fleet garage. A couple of colleagues are milling about. Taxis are coming and going. They all ignore you, consciously or unconsciously. You are branded. You sit there a moment, then turn the key in the ignition. The hum of the engine sends a tingle down your spine. It's impossible to describe how you missed that feeling. It's back to the night shift, back to life. Despite the attack. Despite it all.
Hey, pal. Can you help me out?
The door opens. It's Herve, a homeless man like hundreds of others in Paris. You've known each other for years, and every now and then he asks a favor of you, to drive him someplace. As usual, he greets you quietly, though he always seems a little on edge.
Hey, buddy. What's up, pup?
He has a strange verbal tick that you've never really understood. You start the cab. Herve seems pretty happy with himself today. In the rear-view mirror, you watch him run his tongue over his lips, as if mentally preparing for a good meal. He catches your eye and smiles.
Sorry, I'm a bit out of it today.
So I see.
It's just, I had a bad week. You know, a really bad week. Then yesterday...
He hesitates, as if he can't believe what he is about to say, like it's too good to be true. The lines around the corners of his eyes that show his real age crinkle slightly. Herv gives a little laugh.
Serious, man. I don't believe in God, you know? I don't believe in all that bullshit. Shit. It doesn't make any sense. Some guy with a beard up in the sky, I never got it. What people saw in him. Anyhow, God, none of us believe in him on the street.
His eyes crinkle up at the corners again.
I mean, we believe when the soup kitchen goes to the church. Yeah, sure, we believe in him then.
He flashes his teeth and lets out a harsh, raspy laugh. A pause. So yesterday?
Yesterday?
He's observing you. His eyes light up all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, yesterday.
He's talking faster now, an incessant flow.
I was starving, man.
It was pretty bad. Toby and I had gone through all the garbage bins in the neighborhood.
Toby, he's this German guy. He says he prefers France, that we're more generous here. So I was starving.
Herv's eyes tear up. His voice drops off. A faraway look comes over him. A lengthy pause. Are you okay, Herv? He snaps out of it.
Yeah, like I was saying. I was saying that, I was starving. Starving. I was hanging out near the supermarket on Rue Remusat. Fancy neighborhood, but not too fancy. No cops.
He gives you a wink.
That's always a plus. And then there was like this guy I sometimes see around, a young guy, like just a kid, He comes out of the supermarket with his groceries, and before I even say a word, he hands me a can of cassoulet. A can of cassoulet as big as a beach ball.
Herv's face lights up.
I didn't even know they made them that big.
Herv busts out laughing, and his eye wanders back to the street. Was it good?
Delicious.
He closes his eyes, raises his hands, and waggles his fingers.
I love it when the cassoulet sausage is all mushy and it melts in your mouth. Don't even need to warm it up.
A smile spreads over his face.
Meat mash.
He opens his eyes. Something out the window catches his eye. Herv suddenly pats you on the shoulder.
Hold on, wait. I'm gonna get out here if you don't mind.
You park the cab as soon as you see an empty space.
Thanks, man.
He's looking out the window.
Yeah, I think that's him.
Everything all right?
It is, definitely. It's time to settle a little something.
Without another word, he opens the door and gets out.
This time, I'm gonna get him.
A moment later, he vanishes into a dark alley. Your eye scans the dark, narrow street, but you can't make anything out. Then, something moves in the distance. A silhouette. Probably Herv. Now at a run. The form darts under a street lamp. It is Herv, holding something in his hand. He immediately vanishes from sight. You sit there a minute, and then You switch on the ignition and pull out of the parking space. I missed the last train. I'm going to Saint Ouen. You pull up to the sidewalk to pick up the passenger who ordered a cab. You can just make him out, surrounded by 5 or 6 cops, an all too familiar scene. Every so often, the low, ominous tones of an officer's voice makes it to your ear. The circle of cops breaks up. You see your passenger. He heads over to the cab and gets in. He slams the door and lets rip. Motherfucking cops! He gives you his address and you start the car. The passenger stares out the window at the passing road as if to calm himself. You take a quick look in the rearview mirror. What was that all about? Nothing. The usual bullshit. He has a youthful sounding voice, a little immature. He's barely 20, maybe younger. What a fucking pain in the ass. Can't go out without getting screwed by each and every one of those son of a bitches. If you're not wearing a goddamn beret, if you happen to be wearing sweatpants, then yeah, right, you're a fucking hood. He smirks wryly, then raises his voice an octave. Your papers, please? He sighs, his voice back to normal. Yeah, sure. Shove your aunt's cock up your friggin' ass, buddy. Always the same old thing, isn't it? The passenger looks at you and lets out a bitter laugh. You can say that again. Even the Arabs treat us like shit when they're wearing a uniform. A slow smile spreads over his face. And you know what's worse? He pulls a paperback out of his jacket pocket. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. They wouldn't believe it was my book. He returns it to his pocket right away. For a second, you wonder if you imagined it. The first thing they asked me was where I had stolen it. You know, like there was no way I could own a book. Then the bastards took the book and flipped through it, every single page, to make sure I wasn't hiding anything, like hash or some shit. He flinches, something in his features breaks. A crack has appeared. He's trying not to show it, but you see what's going on. You can't help it. The inner struggle. The humiliation. The sense of shame. It's just a book. Do you like it? He looks up. Yeah, it's kind of like a revenge story. Like all the Hollywood movies we download so we don't have to pay for a ticket. Except that it takes place 200 years ago. And yeah, it's good. It really sucks what happens to the hero guy. He spends the whole book planning his revenge, big time. The guy's pretty messed up. He catches your eye in the rearview mirror. He realizes he's not all worked up anymore. It's, my girlfriend who gave it to me. Well, believe me, man, it was pretty rough at first. First, she got me to read this book, Pride and something or other, some English book. Pride and Prejudice? Yeah, that's it. You read it too? I saw the movie a long time ago. Pause. They made a movie? Shit, I should have watched it. I didn't get through the whole thing, but she didn't mind. After, she got me to read something by Balzac, and after The Count of Monte Cristo, she really wants me to read this book. He rolls his eyes. By some Belgian woman, I think. You shrug. Who my girlfriend says wrote a book about this Roman emperor and his boyfriend, and that it's really amazing. He laughs to himself. I better not get caught by the cops with that one in my pocket. Or by my friends, for that matter. He looks up, his eyes shining. She forced me a little, and then I realized that Monte Cristo, he's one of us. I mean, his story. It's a lot like what goes on today. But I introduced her to new stuff too. There are these texts, rap lyrics that she really likes. You should see her, putting on a show and all, but the truth is, she actually likes it. It's the same thing with reading, right? I mean, it had to be properly explained to me. I had to want to try it. And that was it, man. I was on my way. He looks down. It's pretty crazy, even so. I'm actually reading a book. I still can't believe it. The book and my girlfriend. His eyes sparkle. Some chicks really change your life, don't they? You nod your head slowly. You pull up at the address given by your fare. He lets out a sigh. You know, man, I don't know why the hell I just told you all that. No worries. It must be a real bummer, all these guys telling you their life stories. The passenger passes you the money for the ride. I have to go. I punch in early tomorrow. He pauses, eyeing the time on the radio's LCD display. Or later on, I should say. A moment later, he vanishes into the night. The door suddenly opens and a woman gets into the back seat. Having a good night? For a second, you freeze. It's one of the cops working on the judge's case. She grins at you. Her voice creaks. You remember seeing her at the hospital. Something already bothered you about her there. You know, it's actually pretty crazy. For weeks, I've been saying to myself, there's something off about you. Something not so nice. I dug around, mulled it over, bugged all my fellow cop friends about it. Because I was sure you lied to us. She has a cold sneer on her face. I'm going to be frank with you. She leans over to you.
I don't think you're the judge. Nah, I just can't picture it.
She squints like she's trying to make you out from far away.
Like, you'd have gone to the extent of hurting yourself? Yeah, between us, it's a bit of a stretch.
She stares at you.
But not enough of a stretch for my chief to stop going on and on about you.
Seriously, he talks about you all the time. If I didn't know better, I'd think he had a crush on you. She smirks.
No, I think he's more interested in your profile. In prison at 17?
An icy chill fills your gut.
And for murder, too.
You open your mouth, but nothing comes out.
Since you got out, you've kept a low profile, but you're lying about your name and your address. I checked. It's normal, you'd say. If they get word of your time served, no loan for your permit, no lease for your car, meaning no second chance at life.
Her voice becomes softer, almost warm.
I personally like guys who want a second chance. No, I like guys who fight for a second chance. Basically, I like guys who are willing to work for me.
She leans forward, her shining cat-like eyes narrowing.
My chief wants to go to the prosecutor with a first and last name, with evidence. Actually, knowing him, he's not so hot on evidence. So, I'll give you info. Victims, suspects, medical reports, some photos that are a bit... You'll have to be discreet. Keep it between you and me. Interrogate. Ask questions. Dig around.
I'm not a cop. She shrugs.
Don't worry. You're already keener than half the squad. And don't forget, I'm not asking you to make an arrest and deliver the killer wrapped up with a bow in front of the station, okay? You're no Batman. You're just here to get me more information.
She rummages around in her pockets for what seems like forever.
Here, take my card. I'll call you in 3-4 days, just to check in. We'll chat. I'll let you know if I have any new info.
She takes on a didactic, paternalistic tone, like she was giving you a list of recommendations for the 100th time.
Don't get caught. Don't get arrested. Also, I wouldn't recommend trying to leave Paris. I know what you look like, and I know who your friends are. You can either be the solution or the problem, my friend.
She takes a minute to scan your face, your emotions.
If I have to, I'll go check in on you-know-who.
Her smile is biting.
That reminds me. She know you've done time?
You shake your head. She snickers.
Oh, my little dirtbag. You cover your tracks well. Yeah, if you say so.
She sighs in a tired, exaggerated way. Don't try to mess with me, man. If things don't go well, I'll turn you in. I'll send your picture to all my friends in the media and every asshole in Paris. Your picture with your name on it. Your real name. Anyone close to you will have their places searched. They'll be put under house arrest, spend nights in jail. You have any idea how tense things are with that fucker's trial underway? You sigh. You know just what she's trying to get at. Come to think of it, your last names are almost the same. You could be brothers, actually. I'm nothing like that terrorist. She smiles. Let me tell you, with that face of yours and your handle, they'll welcome you with open arms. She takes on a serious tone, businesslike. I want to catch this killer, personally. I want to drag him to court, ruin his fucking life with a bang. I can't botch this case. You got me? And neither can you, right? Well, great then. We see eye to eye. So you can just say you're my informant, my CI. He ripped open your gut. You saw your own insides. You were in a coma. Yeah, you have plenty of reasons to want to get back at him. She furrows her brow. Yeah, I think you're actually gonna do what I tell you to do. You investigate, ask questions, listen to all the rumors, and you come up with a list of suspects. She lays her hand on the door handle and freezes. Oh, right. And don't get fired. Without this cab, you're worth nothing to me. You glare at her. She puts her hand up, and you can hear the words behind it. This conversation never happened. I'll make sure you get more intel tomorrow. I'll find a way. Until then, not a word to anyone, obviously. Not a word. The door opens, squeaks, and slams shut.
Fucking bitch!
You sit alone for a while, teeth clenched, dry-eyed, ears buzzing.
Shit.
On the back seat, the cop left a pile of papers.
Shit!
Key in the ignition. Motor running. Radio on, crackles. You turn it off and start driving. Talking to passengers might unlock new documents and clues for your investigation. You will find them back at your studio after your shift. 6 clues discovered. You take a second to enjoy the silence of your studio apartment. Outside, the city is slowly waking up. You can still hear the hum of the taxi buzzing in your ears. You throw the files Busset gave you on the table. On the wall, you hung up the big corkboard where you used to pin up photos of your nephews. They've been gone since you got out of. Your plan is simple. Jot down all the pieces of evidence and connect them to the suspects. The guilty party won't necessarily be the one with the most evidence against them, but the one with the most compelling evidence against them. It's like you're building a story about each suspect, trying to understand their motives, understand how he or she got into this situation. Steps in the hallway. They stop in front of your door, then move away. You glance at your bed and get to work. All right. So I have been streaming for about 45-ish minutes now. And this feels like as good a place as any, since I'm going to be streaming for about 2 hours tonight, to go ahead and take a quick break, refill my water, make sure to stay hydrated, and I will be back in just a few minutes. got some fresh water, and we are ready to get back in to Night Call. So, at this point, if you're just joining us, I have just gotten my first set of evidence. So let's just work things left to right. Autopsy report, victim number 3, given by Busset. Oh, well. Things have been happening. Alright, so we've got our 5 suspects. Salim Wadian. He is 1.75 meters in height. He's a well-known lawyer from Saint-Ouen, defender on the Douar case, defender of several molested kids in poor neighborhoods, was a promising football player when he was 10. Paul-Marie Faganal, and if anyone watching this actually speaks French, I am terribly sorry for my mispronunciations. I remember taking a year or 2 of French in middle school, and absolutely none of it has stuck. So Paul Marie, height 1 meter 69, retired cop, joined the police in 1977, divorced from a judge, born in the French Antilles, moved to mainland France in 1976. Suspect number 3, Claudia Campo, height 1.79 meters, medical examiner in Paris, escaped from Argentina when she was young, lost her parents to the Argentinian junta, the process. Hero Bataz, height 1.70 meters, he's a cop in Paris. His dad was a cop, financial affairs, died 2 years ago. Mom got health issues after Richtetin health scandal. Gay in a relationship. Never disclosed this information at work. And then Hervé Greyou. Height 1.77 meters. Homeless man with an unknown background. Briefly worked for Charles Bougain, victim number 2, in the 90s. Got health issues after Richtetin health scandal. A couple of arrests for breaking and entering. And if you haven't played this game before, or are just joining us, Herve was our first ride that we, our first customer that we gave a ride to in the opening of the game. Message on crime scene 1, justice. Autopsy report, victim number 3. Weapon equals rare gun used in the 70s. Source cop times 2. No sign of violence in victim number 3. Killer's height is less than 1.8. So let's see. 175, 169, 179, 171. That's literally everyone. That is the most useless piece of information. Message on crime scene 3 equals time is up. Message on crime scene 2, you deserve this. And the killer case. Killer left message in chalk on first 3 crime scenes. Killer knew the victims or researched them. Victims killed with 1 bullet in the neck. Documents. Let's go ahead and end the night. With a heavy hand, you wipe your tired face. You pull open the sofa bed, which unfolds with an unpleasant creak. You collapse onto the mattress. The events of the day run through your head. The streets, the passengers, their faces, their problems. Your brain is running at full speed. Your body aches, and you are in pain. You can tell you need to get more sleep. You glance at your investigation board. It looks awfully empty. And are you sure this is the best? It's too soon to say. You shake your head and your mind wanders for a second. Your eyelids flutter once and you're asleep. You open one eye. Your attention turns to shouting upstairs, a door slamming. Typical. You get up quickly, and a few minutes later, you're outside of your studio. Let's see. The night is young and looks like we've got a little more than half a tank of gas. This guy seems nice and close by. Julian Paz. I need to go for a drive. Sure. The passenger who enters your cab is sad. Dejected, even. His livid complexion and vacant eye tell you he is at the end of his rope. He falters, the words stuck in his throat. I just want to go for a drive. How about, to the Bois de Vincennes? You nod and start the cab. You drive without saying a word. Every once in a while, you glance back at your passenger. His color seems to be gradually returning. My name is Julian Paz. I'm a computer scientist, and you'll be hearing about me in the next couple of days. He falls silent and places a hand over his stomach. He seems to be in pain. Do you want to see a doctor? His phone starts vibrating. He looks down at it, but doesn't move. My parents. Something's up. He sighs. His eyes are fixed on you. I have just released over 30 years of police records. The words burst from him in an angry rush. 30 years of secret files of wheeling and dealing, of violence and corruption. 30 years of money, mine and yours, used to cover it all up. Well, not anymore. It's all over now. Nothing will ever be the same. He's wearing a nasty smile, strained and humorless. How did you gain access to the files? How? He breathes a heavy sigh. Basically, I'm an archivist. 2 years ago, my team and I started digitizing police archives, and there was a bunch of pretty sensitive stuff in there. He closes his eyes. My boss wanted to inform our superiors, to let them know that some of the documents were highly sensitive. But I convinced him not to say anything, not to do anything. Last month, he retired. I took over for him. The words seem to be shoring him up. He sits a little straighter, almost imperceptibly. And so, I started contacting NGOs, independent organizations, journalists. I gave them access to tons of data. He looks you straight in the eye. This is the land of human rights, isn't it? My grandparents fled fascism under Franco, and if they chose to come here, to France, it was for that reason. A pause. I owe it to them. There were files, entire files on fascist pigs in uniforms. On how they helped the militias, how they armed certain splinter groups in order to control the anarchists, the students, the ultra-globalists. There were other files on how 25 years of scheming kept a police commissioner in office despite his neo-Nazi buddies. When I saw all that, I said, enough. A lengthy pause. He stares vacantly into space. I don't know why they let all that get into my hands, to tell you the truth. There were whole boxes of testimonies and reports. There's a slight change of tone in his voice, lower and more confident. Somebody had to do something. His confidence suddenly vanishes. He snaps. Fuck, man! Fucking shit! I've lost everything. I really blew it. His voice trails off. His phone is starting to vibrate again. Maybe they're worried. He holds up a hand. Thank you, but I need to be left alone. You nod and continue on to the Bois de Vincennes. The ride continues in silence. Your passenger ignores his cell phone and keeps on vibrating over and over again. Every so often, you steal a glance at him in the rearview mirror. Your passenger can't be more than 35, but he already seems a lot older. Especially his voice. It's broken, vulnerable from a fall. You're getting close to the Bois de Vincennes now. Where should I drop you? There's a cafe on the boulevard, near the park entrance. Near the chateau. You nod. I know it. I want to see the sun come up. You glance at the time on your clock, and a smile flickers across your face. The castle, it's so big and so empty. Can you imagine everything that could be put in there, hidden in there? He moves his head from side to side as if keeping time with the thoughts going round in his head like a song. You pull up outside the cafe in question. The passenger hands you his fare. Keep the change. And don't forget my face, please. Keep it etched in your memory. I'm an uneasy pause. I'm afraid of forgetting it myself. Your eyes follow him until he enters the cafe. And it looks like we have a visitor. Hello, Ginger. Stream. Ginger. Ginger. Stream. Not to just, completely break the mood here. He sits down, orders something, then picks up the newspaper on the table next to him. A few seconds later, he seems to be just another ordinary guy. He could be anyone, a simple bystander. You drive away. You park a few streets away from the Argentinian embassy. You wait there for your contact. You sigh. It seems so odd to have a contact. So excessive. This guy is one of your regulars' poker buddies, a night watchman at the embassy. Ginger, I love you, but I need you to not be on my shoulder. Oh dear. Go on. Go on, dude. Go. I always have to remind myself it's her house, I just live here. You get out of your taxi and walk towards the big metal gate. Clean lines, early 20th century maybe. Lots of wrought iron. The gate opens and someone moves towards you. They indicate you should follow them. The person's face is hidden by an oversized hoodie. Your heart starts beating faster. What if it was? You walk into a narrow covered passageway, probably the entrance to a parking garage. The man turns around and lights up a cigarette. The lighter lights up his face for a second, a young man with curly hair, pale skin. He looks young, very young. That'll be 250 euros. Is it worth it? I got as much as I could, so yeah. You want information on Gorodischer? I got info on Gorodischer, and it'll cost you 250 euros. So, what'll it be? See if we can bargain. He raises his hands in front of his chest. His accent becomes stronger. No. It's 250 euros or nothing. If someone learns I fished around, they'll fire me on the spot. For that price, you hope the intel is good. You pay. Listen up, because I'm not going to say it twice. Gorodischer is definitely a colonel from the junta, one of the few who wasn't arrested and put on trial. He is responsible for torturing dozens of political opponents. He tortured and killed them. You know, we don't like him much here, but the rich Argentinians in Paris love him. They really respect him. Is that all? I read in the newspaper that the killer wrote a message in chalk. Time's up. It was a slogan at the end of the junta. A sort of watchword from the opponents. It was time for them to go. You get it? You nod. A second later, you're back in your taxi, with a hole in your wallet, but with new information on one of the victims. If you follow this lead, maybe your investigation will move forward. You start the car and get back to your shift. Let's go get some gas. You pull over and stop at a gas station. Not a soul in sight. The fluorescent lights irritate your eyes, and the smell of pee is wafting up from the space in between the pumps. It's self-service here. You pay directly at the pump. The mini-mart over there, it must sell newspapers. The person behind the counter must see and hear things. Might be worth asking a couple questions. This place makes you nervous. All you want is to get back into your warm cab. You walk into the mini-mart. The guy behind the counter looks like all the other guys behind counters you've come across in your lifetime. Hi. Say, a guy like you, someone who spends most nights here, you must know something about the killer, right? He raises his head and seems almost happy you brought it up. The guy behind the counter barely looks at you as you leave. You get in your taxi and drive away. Alrighty. Hopefully he doesn't stiff us this time. The door opens. It's Herve. He greets you with his bizarre verbal tick, as usual. Hey, good to see you again, Jin. Hi, Herve. You start the engine. Your passenger keeps looking over his shoulder, clearly worried. Is everything okay, Herve? Yeah, sure. No worries. His voice trails off. He seems to be collecting himself. It's just... there's a cop on my tail, Jail. A cop? Has anybody come round asking about me? What do you mean? You know, like... from the crime squad? Nah, nobody's been talking to me about you. That guy's been driving me crazy, asking all those questions, digging up my past, you know what I mean? Yeah, right. I get it. At first, I thought it was that killer, you know, the serial killer. That he was after me. Why would he be after you? Because I saw his face. He pauses, just enough time for your brain to process the information. You got a look at the judge? Your passenger gives you a funny smile. I saw him in profile, Mal. His profile or his face? Profile. But what's the difference? I was like 50 feet away from him, man. I was like sleeping in an alley just across the street from where, well, you know, he killed the last victim. My stomach hurt. I couldn't sleep and, you know, I saw him in profile. He had this weird way of walking, sort of hunched over, as if he were tired. That's all? Yeah, that's all I saw. He had on black gloves, and the streets were dark. I didn't see anything else. He's staring at you. But why do you care, man? I'm just curious, that's all. Yeah, well, if that cop comes round again, you tell him to go fuck off. I'm not gonna tell the police anything. Not a damn thing. A note of anger has crept back into his voice. Goddamn cops, they're never there when we need them. I sure as hell ain't going to the cops. I sure as hell ain't going to help. They can go kick, sick. He looks away, furious. You keep quiet and focus on the road. All of a sudden, your passenger gives the seat back in front of him a thump. Hey, stop right here, Near. You slow down and pull over as soon as you can. Okay, I'm out of here. Hey, wait. Don't worry about it. It's better for you this way, believe me. The door opens, then closes, and Herve vanishes into the darkness. You open the window on your side. You're dying for a cigarette. To relieve the pressure. To calm your racing heart. You take a deep breath, then drive away. Well, at least it didn't cost me too much gas. Yeah, we need the money. Your next passenger is waiting on the sidewalk with an enormous suitcase next to him. You get out of the cab, pick up the suitcase, which must weigh 45 kilos at the very least, and put it in the trunk. You get back in, with your passenger close on your heels. The doors slam shut. You turn the key in the ignition and look up at your passenger. Charles de Gaulle, right? He nods and you start driving. It's still pretty early to be getting on a plane. He must be the type that likes to get there well ahead of time. Japanese, Chinese, you're not sure. You smile. Tourists always have such a magical image of Paris. There's almost no traffic and you're able to drive at a decent speed. Behind you, in the rearview mirror, you can see the tip of the Eiffel Tower start to appear. He keeps staring at you with an annoyed expression. He obviously doesn't understand. His voice is frank, with a dose of exhaustion. Okay, it's Japanese, you're sure now. He imitates the sound of a plane taking off. You think you may have recognized the name of the airport. Airport? Airport. He nods. He turns away so vehemently you understand he wants to be left in peace. He wants calm and silence. You hear him mumbling to himself. His voice is deep and heavy. He takes a short pause to swallow his spit. The tone of his voice makes you think he's making a list of all the things he hated. For the record, I don't speak Japanese, and I'm not going to pretend. He mumbles on and on. He's made that sound before. Third time. You immediately recognize the word. Versailles? Versailles. He bursts out laughing. Thank you, Mountain Goth Mom. Yeah, I recognized that it was kanji, but not even gonna pretend to be able to translate any of it. He glances at you. You don't understand. You get the impression he wants you to repeat what he's saying. He nods. He falls back into his seat. His eyes close. He doesn't want to speak to you anymore. You've had passengers who didn't speak any French before, but this one seems furious. Maybe he didn't like Paris? Maybe he prefers Tokyo. You smile. For just a second, you imagine yourself as a taxi driver in Tokyo. Businessmen, well-dressed high schoolers, those Japanese mobsters. What are they called again? Nah, not gonna do that. You keep driving. You think about the movie you saw during your hospital stay. A black American soldier on the run who starts hanging out with some sort of bum who was a huge jazz fan. It was a singular movie, incredible. It made a real impression on you. The title was... No, you can't remember the title. And how could you possibly describe it to your passenger? Impossible. What a shame you can't speak his language. What a shame not to understand him, not to be able to talk to him about it. You sigh. Maybe later you'll have time to learn Japanese. It's probably hard, not the same alphabet, not the same letters. But then again, your parents could read in Arabic and write in French. So, you could too. Yes, later. You'll have time. And then, here you are at the airport. A heap of ramps and tunnels brings you to the drop-off zone. You pull to a stop and your client wakes up. He notices the airport, a few taxis, your own fatigue. He starts talking peacefully in a soft voice. Mustache hair. He shakes his head. Yeah, I'm not gonna react. He pays his fare with a twinge of shame. You get out of your taxi and help him get his suitcase out of the trunk. It weighs a ton. He thanks you with a sad look of defeat. He grabs onto your sleeve as you try to get back into your car. You nod very slowly. He looks you over slowly from head to toe. When he starts speaking again, his voice is monotone and completely void of emotion. Something inside you resonates, like you understood what he just said. He lost someone. His wife, maybe? He looks upset. He shakes his head. He should have come with someone. I'm sure somewhere on the internet there is a translation of this conversation. If only you could understand him. He bows. When he straightens up, his eyes are misty. You don't know why, but it seems normal to reply. You're welcome. He walks away with his huge suitcase. Without looking back, your passenger goes into the airport. The sliding glass doors close behind him. You start to realize the airport is waking up all around you. A woman who must have been a Viking in another life is pushing a floor waxer across the tiles in the entryway, just below the heating vents. A fellow driver waves as he's leaving the drop-off zone. A plane, maybe the first one of the day, appears in the sky. You get back in the taxi. For a minute, you rub your freezing hands together to warm them up. Just a few seconds before driving off. Yeah, we needed that money. Here's another one of our suspects. You immediately recognize the passenger who just climbed into the back seat of your cab. His face has been plastered all over the news for the last few weeks. He's a lawyer. A lawyer who is representing a terrorist. He gives you an address, and you start driving. He holds your gaze in the rearview mirror like he's trying to read your mind. You drive across a virtually empty Paris. Behind you, the lawyer nervously consults his notes. Everything all right? He answers without looking up. Yes. You get the message and leave him alone. You continue driving without saying a word. Your passenger mutters, "Why did he say that to the cops? He's not taking this seriously. Doesn't get it. Idiot. There, again. He says it again. Is he contradicting himself or just..." You glance in your mirror. The lawyer looks like a smaller version of himself. You're sure everything's all right? He closes his eyes and remains silent for a while. You see him start to break. I can't take it anymore. He takes a deep breath. He loses control of his voice. This guy is a real asshole. He's not just a monster. He's a total idiot. Tears form at the corners of his eyes. I've never seen such a moronic defendant. You know what it's like to defend a moron? You know what it's like to only get 3 hours of sleep a night so you can defend a fucking moron? Do you have any idea? He yells so loudly, the windows shake. I'm sorry. When he answers, his voice is icy cold. No need to apologize. There's nothing to be sorry about. He pauses, barely, just the time to take a deep breath. Jesus effing Christ already! He kicks the seat in front of him. Jesus! He calms himself down. He steadies his breath. I'm the one who agreed to it. I actually fought to represent him. It's my own damn fault I'm being dragged through the mud. He raises his hand, snickers. Yeah, I admit it. At first, I thought it was pretty great. Being on TV, all the interviews, journalists asking my opinion about everything. I shook so many hands, said so many words, sentences, yet I actually said nothing. When I worked in the hood, not a single person cared about my work. And now, in 5 hours, I have to be on the radio. In 7, on TV. He pauses, breathes. His voice sounds further and further away. You should get some rest. He chuckles. Rest? No way. Actually, it's simple. I almost never sleep. When I lie in bed, I stare at the ceiling and go over the evidence in my head. He sits up. It's barbaric, disgusting, so horrific it's almost unreal. He lets out a sigh from somewhere deep in his body. And then I discovered my client bought nails. The nails that were in the bombs at the corner market. And he kept the receipt. He kept the fucking receipt. Folded it in half and slipped it into his wallet. That's what I see when I close my eyes. Disemboweled bodies and a receipt for €2 worth of nails. Why? He raises his voice quite high. Why, for God's sake? He thought he could expense it when he got to heaven? He pauses. So stupid and so dangerous. He disgusts me. He revolts me. Why defend him then? Because everyone has the right to an attorney. Everyone, without exception. Otherwise, justice is no longer just. His fit of rage subsides. His fingers are shaking. When I signed on, I thought I'd be representing someone crazy. And I find out he's just a moron who's played too many video games. The guy has never even read the holy book they use to justify their so-called acts of martyrdom. He read a few passages online. Passages online. Do you have any idea what a complete moron he is? He chuckles. I'm sorry. I am truly sorry. I shouldn't have said all that. He takes a deep breath. I don't have anyone else to talk with about it. All the other lawyers avoid me like the plague. My mother can't understand why I'm doing this. She's so ashamed she went back to Algeria. He is shaking. I get the shame. What I don't get is when people just lump things together. I am not a terrorist. I am not a murderer. You made the right choice. The right choice? Laughter echoes in the back of his throat. I barely had the choice. I couldn't let injustice triumph. Everyone has the right to counsel, to stand trial, to have a fair trial. Even terrorists. Even morons. His anger is back, but this time around, he's got it under control. We could hang him right here, right now, and no one, I'm telling you, would shed a tear. He stays quiet for a moment, catches your gaze. That's why I keep doing this. He slows his breathing. For equality. Our country was founded on it. These rights have been abused far too often for me to look the other way. His anger seems to be lifting. The taxi has almost reached his destination. In the back seat, the lawyer is much calmer. His voice is soft. I needed to be reminded of this. This will serve as a lesson. He looks at you in the mirror and bores into you with his gaze. It's odd, isn't it? That I ran into you tonight. I mean, as if... No, forget it. You pull over. He pays his fare. Wait. Don't take this the wrong way, but... He hands you another bill. Here, this is for you. For listening. For hearing what I had to say. You slide the bill into your pocket. He looks relieved, gathers his belongings strewn across the back seat. As he's getting out of the cab, you realize he left an envelope behind. For a second, one tiny second, you hesitate. It could be something important. Curse my good nature. You forgot something? He freezes, notices the envelope, and grabs it hastily. You can tell he's uncomfortable. He doesn't say another word. He gets out of the taxi, walks a few steps away, and turns around to wave at you before entering a bistro. drive off. Your passenger climbs into the cab and slams the door shut behind him. Good evening. Plain Saint Denis, please. He stops short, visibly sizing you up. Do you know where it is? You nod yes. Avenue des Magasins Généraux. So, you know the street? Yes, sure. He looks at you intently. You know all the streets of Paris? His question drips with disbelief. You know his kind well, the sort who'd refer to you as the Arab and not bat an eyelid. Yes, I do, monsieur. He seems hesitant. Well then, let's go. You start the cab. Your client stares out the window as if hypnotized. You watch him in the rearview mirror. His face is familiar to you. His accent, too, though you'd never be able to place it. Typical of some rural region, central France, perhaps. You take another look. That's it. You've got it. He was a contestant on one of those reality shows where farmers meet women. You'd seen him on the show a few weeks before. You'd watched it from your hospital bed with a distracted eye. But something about it had bothered you. The show was a masquerade. Life in the country seen from a very Parisian and cynical perspective. Full of scorn and contempt. Okay then, you've figured out who I am? His remark, and his accent, bring you back to the present. Sorry? You've recognized me, right? So you can make fun of me now. Make fun of you? He shrugs. Yeah, like all the other people do out there. On that their Tweety thing. Tweety? It takes you a second to realize he's talking about social media. Make fun of you? Yeah, well, go on, have a good laugh. It's free, right? Why shouldn't you? Have a good laugh at my expense. That's all I'm good for, right? His eye meets yours, his voice faltering. He sighs heavily, then shakes his shoulders. He goes on staring at you for a while and then seems to calm down. Sorry. He shakes his head, obviously moved. His shell is starting to crack. It's a living hell. Imagine what I'm going through. It's a nightmare. 3 months ago, I was a contestant on that stupid show, Fields of Love. Well, I said yes because my wife's been dead for 25 years. I've been all alone ever since. Just me and cows and udders. He stops and shrugs. The show was aired like a month ago. At first, things were fine. Friends called, we had a good laugh and all. And then I find out the internet is laughing at me too. There are those things, I can't remember what they're called. Moms? Mams? Mims? You know, those pictures that move all by themselves on the damn internet. You have no idea what he's talking about. Feel free to throw a GIF in the chat. So I made myself a Tweety account to go and see what they're saying about me. Calling me a virgin and a Nazi, that I screw my cows too. He looks away as if someone else had spoken the words. They practically die laughing. A farmer who... He doesn't want to finish the sentence. So yesterday I said I'd had it. I called my cousin to keep an eye on my farm and I left for Paris. I'm on my way to see those TV jokers right now. 6 months ago, they said if there was any problem whatsoever, they'd take care of it. Well, there is a problem. His anger has subsided somewhat. His face is returning to its normal color. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to have all those jokes deleted right away. I don't want to see my face glued to those pictures of freaks who do cows. Oh, my sweet summer child. Nothing is ever deleted from the internet. Should I ever have a larger audience, these awkward first streams, they're here forever. Never gone. And I know that. It's disgusting. His hands are shaking. Do you have a plan? Hell yes, I have a plan. I'm going to show up at their office and raise Cain until they listen to me. You're really going to do that? Yeah, that's the plan. He gives an energetic nod of the head. And believe me, they're going to listen. I may be just a plain old farmer, but nobody's gonna disrespect me. He squares his shoulders as if to fend off the attacks. Forget it. His eyes half closed, he practically growls the words. There is a palpable air of sadness about him. At first, I told him I didn't want to be on their stupid old show. It wasn't for me. But they insisted. They showed me pictures of the women. He lowers his eyes. And then, well, he said yes. Should have never said yes. You pull up to the address he gave you. The studio gates are still closed. You park the cab and cut the engine. Is it closed? You nod yes. It doesn't open until 6. You point to a sign posted near the gates. He sighs. But there'll be hardly anyone here before 9 or 10 o'clock. I don't care. I'll wait. He rummages through his pockets and pulls out a wallet. Good luck. He gives you a curt nod, his lips pursed. Believe me, they are not going to get away with it. He fixes his gaze on you, his eyes narrow. You know, I'm not racist. His voice is low and raspy. Don't believe the show. I didn't mean what I said. I didn't really say that stuff either. They always do that. He nods. Yeah, well, the media, they distort everything. They change things. Things are more, more... He's searching for the right word. It's no use. His hands are shaking. Oh well. He fixes his gaze on you, visibly moved. I'm not very good at this. I've been... He chokes up, gesturing with a hand as if to make it all disappear. When he starts up again, he's on the verge of tears. Anyhow, I'll just wait here until it opens. The passenger pays the fare and exits the cab. You watch him for a minute as he starts his vigil in front of the gates. You notice a newspaper on the back seat. Your last passenger must have left it behind. Or the one before? You grab it and put it away. Could come in handy. Then you start the cab. It's back to the grind. If I'm reading my HUD correctly, looks like it's time to head home. You now know more about your clients. Check the Passadex menu for more details. At the foot of your front door, just behind a drain pipe, you notice an envelope. It's thick and heavy. You can just make out your name, written in thick black marker on the front. Your real name. You take a deep breath and go inside. In the envelope, you find more information, just as Busset promised. You lay them on the table. You look at the new evidence on the table. It'll take you a while to read everything carefully. A bus goes by, making the walls shake. You sigh and get to work. Looks like I'm probably only gonna have time to read at most 2 of these. let's start with victim number 1. Yep, not enough time. So let's see what all we've discovered at this point. So, Herv said the killer was wearing black gloves, and the homeless man, Herv, was seen around crime scenes 2 and 3. Message on crime scene 2, you deserve this. Victim 3, known to have tortured prisoners. Victim 3, Colonel of the Junta, the process. Message on crime scene 3. Come on, highlight the right thing there. Let's do that. Time is up. Message on crime scene 3 linked to the process. Killer fought with victim 1. Picture of crime scene 4. Victim 2 killed in only spot without CCTV. First message in chalk, or killer left message in chalk on 3 crime scenes. So yeah, we know all that. Alrighty. So, with that, it is almost 11:15 as I sit here. And that seems like a good place for us to stop for the evening. So, I do thank you for hanging out with me tonight and watching. It, as always, is quite a pleasure to have everyone stop by. If you have enjoyed my stream, right now I am going Wednesdays and Sundays. Wednesday nights from 9 to 11, and then Sundays from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. All of those times are Eastern. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I do have my own website where I post short stories. Right now there's not too much up there, but I'm working on getting some more posted. And of course, I do have a Patreon. If I have earned more than just a follow, I would absolutely appreciate a contribution there. Or you can always tip me in bits, or down below in the About panel, you can hit up my tip page there. I appreciate everything and anything, and I will catch you guys around. Take care. Have a good night.